On today's episode of Titus and Tate, the Brotherhood is dead, and Jalen Johnson is holding the knife, Tate. Jalen Johnson, the 5-star, the latest 5-star of Duke that Duke brought in, has decided to, quote-unquote, opt out.
It comes again. Coach K wondering what's next, looking at the future. He's had a decade of dominance. What does the next decade look like? Could be the first domino. Who knows? We got a lot to talk about.
Speaking of deaths and eras ending and whatever else, good guy of the year has been locked up. We'll put it that way. I think it's, spoiler alert, if you're going to listen to the Duffies.
A good Christian man.
Yeah, at the end of the season, we do the Duffies. We hand out good guy of the year. This was our pick for good guy of the year coming into the season. We hit all eyes on Jim Christian at Boston College, and he was let go. Was he let go or fired? What did they say?
He was fired.
Damn, that's not good guy, though. Good guys get let go. Bad guys get fired.
If you just Googled good guy, Jim Christian, I think you get like 1 million results right now because every single person that knows who he is has said he's a good guy. So that's good news.
Nobody knows anything else about him. Nobody knows what he looks like. Nobody knows a single thing about the guy other than that he's a good guy.
Jim, like that name. Christian, sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. He is no longer a Boston College coach, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And speaking of while we're on the topic of just like things ending, the Michigan State Spartans are dead. Lost by 30 at home. It's done. The dream is dead. I tried with Andy on Friday. I brought up the idea of maybe Michigan State had some opportunities in front of them. Maybe Michigan State could maybe sort of. Mr. March could peek his. Nope, it's gone. He's dead. What else is there, Tate? Hunter Dickinson balled out for Michigan.
Yes.
The SEC was crazy. Creighton might be back. They beat Villanova. There's a ton to get to. We're gonna do.
Sister Jean is here.
Sister Jean.
She's here.
And we're gonna do good guys, bad guys, Tony guy. There's a big Tony guy out there. We're excited about
Let's
this
skip
one.
that part today.
There is a ton to get to. We're gonna do our best to get to all of it. All right, Tate. We have been waiting for this to happen in college basketball for the last few years. I'd say the first instance that I got excited about the idea of something like this happening was Michael Porter Jr. We started the Michael Porter Jr. mystery on a previous iteration of the show, where it felt like Michael Porter may or may not ever try to play at Missouri, and we joked throughout the season.
At one point weren't sure that he even played basketball.
Yeah, well, because he sat out his senior year of high school.
Yes, exactly.
He sat out senior year of high school, right?
And all he had was Steve Ballmer, who was like, "This kid's amazing." We're like, he may have gotten confused.
We made the comment, we made the observation. I said one thing I want to see happen at some point is just a guy who never played. Like Michael Porter inspired me. Like, what if there's a basketball prospect that comes along that never actually plays? He's always preserving his draft stock. Then he gets drafted, and now he's preserving his stock for when he's off of his rookie deal, so he can sign the max contract.
Ben Simmons was the closest to doing that. He tried at LSU. He was like, I'm not going to play much here.
Michael Porter killed the dream. He actually played at Missouri. He played in the NCAA tournament. We had another opportunity when Zion Williamson came along. His shoe blew out against the North Carolina Tar Heels. The internet went crazy. They said, I don't know if you're aware of this, Zion. You're not getting paid to be there. And Zion was like, I wouldn't be so sure about that. But the people were calling for Zion to quit. They said, Zion, shut it down. Save your draft stock. What are you doing? He came back. But finally, at long last, in the year 2021, Tate, we got it. Jalen Johnson is shutting it down. No, he used the phrase opting out. He said opting out. And it has become this just broke. So we're recording this on Monday night. This news broke about an hour and a half ago, I'd say. And it's been interesting sussing through the reactions to it because I think everyone wants to call it what it is, which is that he quit on the team. And then I think we need to start there and just say the man quit on the team. Now, whether you think that he's justified in doing that, whether you want to go the path of like, you want to go the super, trying to choose my words carefully, the path that's like, these are unpaid guys. There's a pandemic going on, you guys, in all caps. He shouldn't have ever even played in the first place. Whatever, we can argue about that, but the fact of the matter, we got to start. Like, he quit on the team. He didn't opt out. He quit. He quit. He cleaned out his locker. You can opt out. You can say, I want to preserve my draft stock. I don't want to hurt my foot. Whatever. And then what you would do then is you keep your stuff in your locker. You're still around the team. You're still a part of the quote unquote brotherhood. He said, I want no part of that. I'm done. Deuces. So he quit. And that's that. I think it's important to start there because everyone like trying to coddle it or anything. There's not been a lot of coddling though. A lot of people Rothstein
Even
was fired
John
up.
Rothstein, who is objective as they come, as you said, came out and said, Jalen Johnson, you quit on the Duke Blue Devils. You have 3 more weeks left in the season. What are you doing? And I think you said you want to start from the beginning. Let's start from the beginning with Jalen Johnson. He comes to Duke, and the new thing, what Coach K has created, Zion was the perfect example of this, is when you're our top recruit, when you're our top flight guy, the one that Nike's looking at to sign for a shoe deal, you wear the number 1, you know, right? Because then Duke doesn't have to put the name on the back of the jersey. If you get the number 1 Duke jersey every single year, it's going to be some top 5-star recruit that you're going to love. This year, Jalen Johnson. And Jalen Johnson, at the beginning of the year, he went on this Instagram Live and said, basically, we're going to win the national championship. I don't care if I average 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. You know, it doesn't matter. I just want to win. That's what he said.
Yeah.
So, like, the Duke fans, as they should be, you hear that, you're like, this is our guy. This is what we expect.
The guy who gets it.
He gets it. He knows the brotherhood. He knows the program. And we're at a point now where we see that he doesn't quite get it because Jalen Johnson is doing himself no favors. His camp, I said this to you off air. There was like a point in time in college basketball where like Bobby Knight, Dean Smith, Bob McKillop, all these guys would have camps. Top players go to those camps, they get discovered, and then they, you know, the rest is history sort of thing. Now players have their own camps,
They have their own
which
camps,
are like PR camps, and the PR camp for Jalen Johnson said, remember that time you had 19 points and 9 rebounds? And I'll say it again. Remember that time you had 19 points and 9 rebounds? Not 20 points and 10 rebounds. Like, you know, that would really get me excited. 19 and 9. Didn't even hit that threshold of getting a double-double. But that game carried him to the it got him to the point in his mind, you know, according to his camp, that he's ready for the NBA and that he is ready to make the leap. Sam Vecini, a friend of the program, I saw his write-up about Jalen Johnson and what he, you know, described him as. He said he was a Ben Simmons without the extreme athleticism, which to me says...
He's a tall guy who can't shoot.
Exactly. And that does not sound like a guy ready to go to the NBA. You're at one of the best programs. I'm not saying that this was the best year to show that Duke is one of those premier programs to teach a player, but this is in bad form all around. And I wish that there was a Back to the Future type scenario where I could get up with Doc and bring Coach K from 1999 and just sit him down right there, Mark Titus, and just read out the scenario. You know, just like read out, here is the cause and effect. Here is what happened. Coach, your thoughts.
Yeah. To me, this whole situation feels like a much higher stakes, more high profile version of Nojel Eastern leaving Purdue. When Matt Painter was like, the kid's making a stupid move, and people are like, how dare you say that? How dare you? And he's like, well, I'm going to tell you how dare I. I've been around him. I know how good of a basketball player he is and how bad he is and where he falls in that. I know what NBA scouts are saying about him. I know what his motivations are. I've known the kid. I recruited him. I brought him here. Like, I care about him deeply, and it pains me to see a kid make a stupid decision. And I feel like this is the same situation where now people are going to be like, he has the right to do whatever he wants. Sure he does. Of course he does. But if you care about the kid and your Coach K or anybody else, you'd be like, this is a stupid move. This is a very bad move. You quit every team in high school he was on, apparently. Like he just jumping around from school to school, goes to Duke. He's now quitting on them when there's 3 weeks left in the season. I don't know, man.
Coach K's had 3 iterations. The first one was created by Bob Knight. He became Bob Knight 2.0. He learned everything from him, you know, at West Point, and said, this is what a coach looks like. I will mimic this behavior. I will be tough. I will be hard-nosed. I will be whatever. Dean Smith was also right there beside him. He watched someone with grace, someone with class, someone that could handle the families and handle the socioeconomic differences that come with college basketball recruits and the system that they're going into. And he took some of that, and he became, you know, a Dean Smith light of sorts, which I appreciated. And Jimmy V was also in the mix. He kind of molded those two together. And then, like you said, in 2010, they win the championship, and then he basically, you would think, would have been at this should be the finale for Coach K, right? You've hit this point. Wow, what a great win for this team. You've overachieved. But he wanted more. He just wanted to keep going. So he strung out an entire decade, and he mutated again into Coach Cal Light, which is, I am the one and done God. I am the one that will get you to the NBA. I am the one that will facilitate this whole operation. And now that happened in 2010, 2011. Now we're 2020, 2021. We're a decade again.
Pivot again, Kay. We need a mutation.
But what is the pivot? That is the question. And he's made it, you know, he did it, you know, when 2000, 2001, he made it to become Dean Smith. You know, because he saw Matt Darty coaching in North Carolina, was like, well, I can take that throne. Yeah. And I think this is what happens. He's either Coach K, like we joked about on the last episode, makes the brand play, which is it's not about championships, It's about passing the game along. It's about, being a leader of men. It's about being basically, if you want to put it in Harry Potter terms, the Dumbledore of college basketball. You know what I mean? I wanted to oversee this operation, make these young guys like John Shire understand it and go and be great. And that's what I expect them to do, because if you look at the recruiting class ahead, yes, they have Banchero, who I brought up. It's not the most, fleshed out class. 2022 is a mess. And that's the real question. No, I'm serious. It was the same thing last decade. What will the pivot be? The pivot will be made.
There's got to be a pivot.
There will be a pivot.
I don't know.
I don't like to dump on a kid like Jalen Johnson, because at the end of the day, it all starts at the top. The fact that he thinks that he could make this decision means that Coach K and the Duke staff in general has let him believe that is an okay decision.
This is the problem I have with I'm going to sound like an old man, but like with the culture, the idea of player empowerment, the idea that like you can never criticize a decision that any player makes, because these are unpaid players, and they should. They should have the freedom, Tate. I'm not arguing that we should put measures in place to where if Jalen Johnson wants to opt out, we say, no, you have to play. Of course you should be allowed to play. What I'm saying is that I don't care what the statements are being put out from Duke. I don't care what the PR spin is on this. There's not a single guy in that locker room that's like Jalen Johnson's like, hey, I'm quitting, which, by the way, did he even say anything to the guys? I don't know. But if he sat all of his teammates down, he's like, hey, just so you guys know, I'm opting out for the NBA draft. There's not a single guy in that locker room that genuinely thought, all right, man, good for you. I wish you well. Every single one of those guys, and I say this as a guy who's been in a locker room like that, every single one of those guys is like, what the hell, man? Like, we still have a chance of making the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, 8-8 right now.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And the idea that he's still in the brotherhood, I don't know. Do what you want. Do whatever you want. It's not his fault. As you said, it's coming from the top. But this is the problem, is that just because, like, you can't, I don't know. You can't just there has to be some sort of measures in place. There has to be somebody that's like, I don't mean measures like laws or rules or whatever. I mean, there has to be some sort of like counterbalance where like someone gets in his ear and is like, this is a bad move. And that doesn't happen. I think like as a whole, college basketball players, 5-star recruits are coming into college and saying like, I don't know. I catch myself sounding like an old man, so I'm going to shut up now. But like, it's so frustrating, dude, because you can't criticize anybody, or people think you're attacking the kid. I'm not attacking the kid. I'm just saying every so often, if the kid wants ice cream for dinner every single night, it's okay to sit him down and be like, that's not good for you. At some point, you have to eat your Brussels sprouts. I'm sorry. And this feels like I don't know.
And Jalen Johnson looked at Coach K and said, but I had 19 and 9.
Yeah. And it's just frustrating, because the same thing happened with Nojel Eastern and Matt Painter. And who ended up being right and all that? I don't know. I guess Nojel Eastern will probably play in like Iraq for 5 years and then make it onto a G League team and like get minutes in the NBA, and everyone will say, suck it, Matt Painter, you were wrong all along. But that's what's frustrating to me, is that like these guys are, and it happened to whatever. I'm getting fired up. Let's move on.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Good guy of the week is Jim Christian for you, I assume.
Ooh, yes, it's pretty easy. And I said this, as we were joking in the intro, but as soon as the news broke, Jeff Goodman, a good man himself, put out that Jim Christian, was in fact a very good guy, and BC was making a terrible move by deciding to fire him in the middle of a pandemic. But if we go back, in June, they get a new AD from Temple. Kraft is his last name, and Kraft at that point in time, and that's why you and
Patrick
I had
Kraft,
him. Yeah, we had him as our good guy.
Oh, is that
year.
Jim Christian?
There he is.
I was
right?
wondering if we were gonna show any pictures of him on this big screen here, because
I mean, look,
are we sure that's Jim Christian?
They've had some moments. They've had some players during his tenure. He was there for 7 years, the longest since Al Skinner. And when they fired Al Skinner, there was this weird, kind of moment of like, they're going to get some big coach. They're going to get some other bigger guy and take this program to the next level. Obviously, they go to no tournaments with Jim Christian, and
well, they had
Steve Donahue was in
Phil
there.
Donahue,
and Steve Donahue comes, and his whole idea was like, I'm going to recruit kids from California and bring them to Boston College, which I don't think that's ever worked. You know what I mean? And I'm not to say, but anyways, so we get the whole picture of Boston College. There's this idea that they're going to go for a very splashy hire, but the Jim Christian era is going to be the best version of a quote-unquote good guy, our definition of it, because he did not do anything of note really there.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, literally
nothing.
Like, they beat Duke that one time with Kai Bowman and Jerome Robinson. That's probably the quote.
That was Steve Donahue.
That was Steve Donahue.
No, I don't know. I just brought that up.
Exactly.
See, you believed it. That's the
what
point.
I'm saying. And it's like 7 years. I'm like, time flies.
That's the point.
That's where we are with Jim Christian as being a good guy. And Boston College as a whole, there is a lot of sleeping giant, conversation there.
I'm ready to have it.
Okay, let's have it.
I'm ready to have it
Let's
because
do it.
I think the problem, you said they wanted to make a big splashy hire.
Yep.
They want to make a guy that fits. Boston College is a Catholic school. They went with a Christian, which they didn't go into it enough. They just went with Jim Christian. What they needed to go with is a man who is Catholic through and through, a man who understands what it's like to be at a Catholic school, a man by the name of Rick Pitino. I said this at the start of the season. I had it circled. Part of my fascination with Jim Christian at Boston College this year, beyond just we kind of knew what was, we saw the writing on the wall at the start of the year, but also I saw the dominoes falling in place for Jim Christian gets the boot, and suddenly a vacancy exists, and oh my God, it's Rick Pitino, and it's a match made in heaven, Tate. And I think a lot of our listeners probably assume I'm joking because we've made countless Rick Pitino jokes on this program, and it might sound like a joke. I am not joking. I think this is the hire. I think this has to happen for both the school and Rick Pitino. It makes absolute perfect sense for the school. They need a splashy hire. They can't, like, are you seeing the names that are being thrown out for Boston College? Are you kidding me? Have you heard of any of these guys?
The big names, quote unquote, for the job right now: Vermont's John Becker.
I don't. No.
Loyola Chicago's Porter Moser. Sister Jean would be all very upset about that, and VCU's Mike Rhodes.
No, that's not what you need.
Yeah.
You're Boston College. You
Becker
need,
is the one that's going to get the job.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. And my apologies to the families of those coaches. Like they're good coaches. I know. I know that.
But you're saying if you want to make a splash,
Boston College needs that. So this is the game plan. Boston College has they've had one winning season since 2011. Tate. They've not been ranked or made an NCAA tournament since 2009. It has been a long, like in my mind before I looked that up, I thought Boston College has had like a lean 4 or 5 years. Yeah. It has been well over a decade at this point.
Since Jared Dudley, basically.
What they need is a shot in the arm. They need like a quick fix. They need they need the buzz. You don't want to rebuild. The rebuilding process is going to take forever. Hire Rick Pitino. Let him do whatever. Just turn him loose. Give him like 5 years. Then the NCAA comes knocking, and you fall on the sword. You let him fall on the sword, and then you hire Jared Dudley, and away you go. And Jared Dudley inherits the program that now has a national brand, that now has made a couple Sweet 16s. And sure, they're vacated, but who cares? We're hanging the banner anyway. I think that's the plan for Boston College. I think it makes sense for Rick Pitino because he ultimately, what he wants more than anything is to crush his enemies and to stick it to all the people that put him in the position he was in, which is exiled to Greece. And now he wants to come back with a vengeance. And the only way he's not going to do that at Iona. He's got to get a power job. And just frankly, there aren't many power conferences that are going to take a swing like that are that bad, or that the program's in that bad a state that they would take a swing on Rick Pitino. Boston College is one of them. He coached the Celtics. He coached a BU. It all makes sense, Tate. That's my piece. I genuinely believe that Rick Pitino should be the new coach of the Boston College Eagles.
I think you just said it. Dr. James Naismith, when he first wrote the rules of basketball, he wrote it in a journal called The Triangle. And Rick Pitino has to complete the Boston Triangle. That was in Springfield, Massachusetts. You said it. He was at BU. He was with the Boston Celtics. Let's send him to BC. Let's send him to Boston College. And when he was with BU, you mentioned the bag dropping. Like, here is like a little microcosm example of what we mean, what he would mean to the Boston community, the basketball community there. When he was at BU, he got a man by the name of Patrick Ewing, a man obviously who was from the Massachusetts area. We get that. He got that man to put Boston University in his top 3 just for looks.
Yeah.
He knew that he wasn't going to go to Boston University, but he coached him at 5-star basketball camp, knew him well. Pat Ewing puts him in his top 3, and Rick Pitino is rolling because every other top recruit says, what's happening over there at BU? I'll take a look. Coach Pitino seems cool. And Pat Ewing wanted to play for him before he went to go play for Big John. And Rick Pitino will make that happen. Boston College will have, I don't know, a kid like Paolo Banchero. Maybe he decommits and goes to Boston College. Who knows? That's what I'm saying. Like, he will make a type of splash like that.
He will make a splash. It'll come back to catch you, but not really, because like the NCAA they'll drop the iron fist on Rick, and they'll say you can never coach college basketball again.
Like
and he'll say fine.
The whole idea that he was this big cheater, bag dropper, whatever at Louisville, like it wasn't even some big thing that he was doing. There was much more going on elsewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, and after the fact, it came out that he was more of a scapegoat than anyone even thought.
The play is Rick Pitino. You do it as a short-term thing. You do it as the shot in the arm the program needs. You get Boston College back on the map. Then the NCAA
this
comes.
This is Larry
you
Brown
say,
at
we're
SMU.
sorry. Yes.
This
you say,
is it.
we're sorry. We won't do it again. You let Rick Pitino fall on the
Head
sword.
coach in waiting is there.
He will gladly fall on the sword because at this point he'll be like in his mid-70s and he's like, all I ever wanted was just I wanted to beat the ACC. I wanted to beat Louisville. I want to be in the ACC. I want to coach at Boston College. I want to stick it to Louisville, and he's gonna destroy Louisville when he plays with Boston, and that's all he wants. And then he'll beat Louisville by 30 one game. And then when the NCAA comes knocking, he's like, I was waiting on you. It's fine. I'm ready to go. Can we stick in Boston with my good guy of the week pick? Because
it's not Jim Christian?
It's not Jim
Christian.
Oh, it's wow. I have a different Boston coach that I want to make my good guy of the week. His name is Brad Stevens. Dude.
Ooh.
And he's the head coach of the Boston Celtics, who are currently 500 right now. They're 13-13. They've lost 4 out of 5. There's trouble in paradise with the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens, who was once upon a time the brightest mind in the NBA and all these other things. Suddenly the Boston fans...
How quickly it changes,
Yep. And the reason this is relevant, because it dovetails nicely with Archie Miller at Indiana University. Just got his ass handed to him by Chris Holtmann on Saturday for the 6th time. He has 1-6 against Chris Holtmann since he's taken over at Indiana. And the reason that's noteworthy is that he took over at Indiana at pretty much the same time Chris Holtmann took over at Ohio State. Chris Holtmann came from Butler. Archie Miller came from Dayton. So, like, there's a lot of overlap where, like, Indiana fans could have conceivably got Chris Holtmann. Ohio State fans kind of wanted Archie Miller. And they ended up where they ended up. So now let's see how it plays out. Which coach is better? As it turns out, Chris Holtmann is giving it to Archie Miller. And Indiana fans have had enough, frankly. And there he is. There's Archie. And so I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that Brad Stevens is from Indiana. Archie Miller is not, and that's that. And Archie, what is your read on all this? I'm trying to what do you feel as an outsider? Because I live this every day. Like should Indiana fire their coach? It doesn't even matter who it is. But yeah, Indiana fans are kind of itching for something. What do you see as an outsider?
This is one of those scenarios where you heard it early on and you never expected it would be reality, and then when it does happen, I'm still gonna have to pinch myself if it does. Like if Brad Stevens was the one standing right there like Archie Miller, it would feel so odd to think that it was something that we talked about obnoxiously, when he was at Butler.
6 years ago, 7
years. I mean, from day one. I mean, when he took since 2010, since Butler made
11 years ago,
IU fans have been like, "That's our guy. Like we're grooming that kid. We want him to be our coach." And then he he basically leaped above Indiana basketball as much as we would, not like to say that. We obviously respect Indiana, but he was too good too soon. He makes a leap to the NBA. The NBA wanted to have a guru. They're like young Popovich. That's who Brad Stevens was, supposed to be mirroring himself after. Turns out Greg Popovich without Tim Duncan is a lot more like, a lot of other coaches without great players. You lose games. It's just what happens. Brad Stevens is in a similar spot right now. I mean, you got basically Kemba Walker, who is I watched him play 7 years in Charlotte. Kemba is a B+ that is viewed as an A+, right? So, and then you got 2 other young wings that you've been grooming up that are either you give them the reins of the team and you say, we are as good as you guys take us, or you decide that they're not the A guys, they're the B guys, and we need to get another star to play with them, but we fit them around them. Boston hasn't made none of these decisions. Instead, they tried to piecemeal a team together every single year, whether it be Gordon Hayward and all these different Al Horford, all these different guys that they've had over the years. And I don't think that's done Brad any, I don't think that's helped him out at all. I know that's a part of the NBA. I know that's Danny Ainge's job to, find these players. I know Vucevic is one of the names that's been thrown around right now, but let's just be quite honest. What is Vucevic going to give you that Tice doesn't? Tice is pretty great with those 2 guys. So you're basically just going to bring in a guy that's going to take shots away from Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So regardless, all of this conversation, right, is so, transactional. And Brad Stevens, as you and I think are personally, they are more basketball related, right? Like I like talking about like what's happening on the basketball court. I don't want to do transactions. I don't want to carry all this over the head stuff. I don't have to worry about my players being upset that they're not empowered as the number 1 guys because Kemba Walker's here and he's supposed to be the star of the team. That's a lot of ego to manage. And Brad Stevens had to deal with Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie, as talented as he is, he's probably just as big of a headache as that. So it's like, he's gone through the ringer, so to speak, with the Boston Celtics. And, I would not blame Brad for trying to find another alternative. And I think that
I'm coming home.
Right. And you grew up in the same place as him. You grew up in high school basketball, college basketball being the center of the universe. And same way for me on Tobacco Road. So I understand the pro game wearing on you, And like even guys like Buzz Peterson, Mitch Kupchak, Carolina basketball people, the pro game wears on you. And you come back to your school and you have this. And look, we've seen it go wrong, but it's also going right.
Everybody points to Brad Stevens saying he doesn't like recruiting as proof that he's not going to come back.
What does he have to recruit?
Who does like recruiting? Even like Cal is like this is.
It's an act.
It's
He's
just all
tired.
that like deep down. John Calipari's not like, yes, I love sitting in high school gyms.
I literally only think Will Wade likes it because Will Wade thinks he's in like an episode of The Wire, in his mind. He's the only guy that I actually believe. If he was like, I love it,
he legitimately thinks
right.
cameras are following him, and he's like playing to the camera. Like he does like handshakes with the recruits, and then he looks at the camera, and the recruit's like, "What are you looking at?" And he's like,
Will Wade thinks that he's gonna be like Frank Lucas when he goes to the fight, and he has like the big coat on, and he gets spotted for the first time. He's like waiting for that moment in his life.
Brad Stevens is a good guy though because he's choosing to have let Celtics fans start to get their 7-year itch. It's been about 7 years, right?
Yeah,
it was 2013, 14, I think was his first year.
Yeah,
they're 7-year itch, dude. It's like Thad Matta told me that Lou Holtz told him, so then he told me. So this is a lot of game of telephone. I remember talking to Coach Matta about it. He said, Lou Holtz told him one time, never stay at a program for more than 7 years because you start falling in love with the place and they start falling out of love with you. That's what happens. So that's why Lou Holtz, that was like his philosophy. And that's why he quit or retired or move jobs, whatever. Maybe that's happening with Boston. They're starting to get different. But
the Jim Christian says yes, 7 years.
But the timing of it's perfect because we can meme this to death now because Brad Stevens it's a little rocky in Boston. Maybe, probably not. He's going to keep his job. I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but it works out well with Archie. Losing to Purdue. He's 0-6 against Matt Painter. He's 1-6 against Chris Holtman. These are the two coaches he will be measured by as long as he is at IU. It'll be his rival and the guy that he was hired at the same time as. And he's not doing well. And IU fans, like, I guess, like, I don't know. I like the hire when they hired Archie. I played for Archie at Ohio State. I think he's I am not gonna say he definitely should be fired, but I understand like how we got here. And like if you mirror Archie's tenure at Indiana with like Tom Crean, which makes a lot of sense. He's the guy he took over for. Tom Crean obviously inherited the worst program that Indiana, or the worst that Indiana's ever been. They were 6-25 his first year. There's all sorts of problems. The whole program was gutted and sanctions, everything. By year 4, if you remember, Tate, year 4, Tom Crean was the 2012 year, the Watford shot to beat Kentucky. And that year 4 for Tom Crean was like the year where they had a pretty good team. I forget, they won 20-something games. I forget how many, but they ended up going to the Sweet 16. They got a 4 seed, I think, lose to Kentucky in the Sweet 16. But then that whole team's coming back. They were pretty young. All the key guys are coming back. And entering the season, year 5, they're ranked number 1 in the country. And that was kind of the path that Archie Miller was on. The year 1, not great. He's trying to put his system in. You got a bunch of Tom Crean players that wanted to run and gun and shoot a bunch and not play any defense. Archie Miller wants the exact opposite. There's gonna be some growing pains. Year 2, you make the big recruiting splash. You get Romeo Langford. He was billed as a savior. I think that was unfair, but still there was some program momentum building. But Romeo Langford hurts his wrist. He's not the player they wanted him to be. They kind of hit the reset button on everything. Trace Jackson Davis becomes the new quote-unquote savior, and they build it to where year 4 was this year. We saw them in Asheville. We saw Indiana, and I wouldn't shut up about it. I was like, I think Indiana's better than North Carolina. I think Indiana's the second best team here. Texas is the best. I think Indiana's the second best. They have a lot of pieces. They don't have any shooters, but they're very young. Like they play. I do think they have the capability of playing elite defense. And long story short, a lot has happened since Asheville. They're now 11-9. They're 6-7 in the Big Ten, and the itch is setting in because this was supposed to be a year where like Indiana's like a young, fun team that's like finishes 5th in the Big Ten. Say they bring everyone back next year and they're really good, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be that. And Brad Stevens is also getting the 7-year inch of Boston, so that's why he's my good guy of the week. It all
connects, and I think at the end of the day, Danny Ainge. I just googled Brad Stevens right now. Danny Ainge put out a report and said, basically, it's not Brad Stevens' fault that we're losing games. I put together this team, which no, that says to me, Danny Ainge is already talking.
It is Brad Stevens'
He introduced the idea that
no one even asked him the question. They're just like, Danny, what'd you have for lunch?
He's like, it's not Brad Stevens' fault. It's not Brad. Don't worry, I put the team together. It's definitely not Brad's fault, but you should go ask him about what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so that to me says even more fuel to the fire.
Dude, Brad, come home.
Man.
Just do it, dude. Like, what are you doing?
This is Jim Harbaugh going to Michigan, but for basketball. This is well, I guess never mind.
I would say Archie is Jim Harbaugh right now in the sense of like, no matter what you do, if you're 0-6 against Purdue and 1-6 against, like, Jim Harbaugh loses to Michigan State and Ohio State all the time. It doesn't matter what else you do. I don't know. I hope Archie can figure it out, but also Brad Stevens come home.
Brad Stevens coming back and Indiana winning a championship this century would be so good for college basketball. Yeah. I will say that. As much as I joke to you that I hate Indiana because they own we are the basketball state. I would love to see Brad go home. Go home, Brad.
Come home, Brad.
Get out of Boston. My God.
Dude.
Get out of there.
Come home to Indiana. You can lose as many games as you want.
Remember we saw him in Summer League
for 3 years,
2 years ago, and we saw the twinkle in his eye because he was like got the young college kids. He's playing our boy Aaron Nesmith a lot. He loves the younger players, and we both know like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They've had their college coach. They're tired. They got an itch.
If Brad takes over at Indiana, I think I have to go to Bloomington. I think I have to be on staff. I think I'm in the Brad Stevens coaching tree. I think that's the move. I think the show's over, and I'm going to Bloomington, and I'm going to be on staff. And I'm
going to keep doing the show, and boy, I hope you guys have it together.
All right, Tate, bad guys. What do you got? I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I got this is pretty easy for me. It was a man that this entire year, I think if I'm going to put my stamp, if I had to say my coach of the year, it's this guy. Juwan Howard, the jump man himself at Michigan, Big Blue Nation, hail to the victors, all the above, all the things. They've been out of basketball activity for about 23 days. Wasn't a decision that they made. We've talked about this on the show. The university says it, hands it down to them. They're one of the hottest teams in America. One of the few teams that we say, I'm going to introduce an idea to you, and you see how you feel about this. But I think in college basketball this year, we have Gonzaga, obviously far and above the best team. And then I think Baylor is right there with them, maybe a little bit under, but they're on the same tier, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a new game that we're playing called The Biggest Loser, and it's in the Big Ten, and it's the best team. It's the best team that's going to end up losing to one of those teams. And so it's like Illinois is in there, Michigan's in there, like Ohio State's in there.
I like it better as the Intercontinental Belt.
No. It's called The Biggest Loser, and it's going to be a hit show, I think. But Juwan Howard is, in that sense, he is, I think, the best of these guys. And against Wisconsin, they were down in this game. They looked sluggish. They were down 12 at the half. They needed something to kind of get them going. And our boy Buzzcut Brad decided the best thing that he could do was just throw an elbow to get teed up. And we get, that was basically the turning point in the game.
No, he didn't get teed up.
Or no, Juwan Howard got teed up. Sorry, not Brad.
Yeah.
Brad throws the elbow. Juwan Howard kind of goes crazy, which is what you want to see as a player.
It was the turning point. Yeah,
it riled up the whole team. They click in. Hunter Dickinson's amazing. His middle name should be Gimme That Shit because all he does is block shots.
Grab rebounds.
I think he had 5 blocks in this game.
He had 15 rebounds. Here, the stat of the game is this: Hunter Dickinson, a freshman center. Granted, he's like 23 years old.
This is why the bad guy's playing in, by the way, because I'm watching this freshman and I'm thinking to myself, my God, I mean, and he's got another class coming in that looks just as good.
Yeah.
And the transfers like Sean D. Brown that he brings in from Wake Forest have been great. And this team, that when they got kicked, when they were down, they clicked. Isaiah Livers, a guy that's been, to a Final Four, knows what's up. Franz Wagner, who watched his brother do the same thing. I mean, this team has the acumen to make a real run. And Juwan Howard is my bad
Here's
guy.
the problem I have with Michigan. I don't hate anybody on this team.
Yeah.
And I got.
You want to?
I want to, and I think I will. They play Ohio State this weekend.
Yep.
It's the game of the year in college basketball because there's actually something on the line.
They're the biggest loser.
You're the worst. Shut up. The Big Ten title's on the line. Maybe a 1 seed's on the line. This is the game in college basketball, and I'm going into it saying, like, I don't know who I hate on this team, but I know coming out of the game, I will have figured that out. I will figure out who I hate. Hunter Dickinson had 15 rebounds. This is what I wanted to tell the people if you didn't watch this game.
Yes.
Hunter Dickinson had 15 rebounds. He's a freshman, and he's granted he is a 20-year-old freshman, but he's a freshman nonetheless. Nate Reavers, Micah Potter are both 6'10", 6'11". They are both seniors. They are both, as we know with everything Wisconsin basketball this year, very old, very experienced. They combined for 0 rebounds, Tate. That's really all you need to know.
Yeah.
These two seniors let a freshman get 15 rebounds. They got 0 rebounds.
There's the theory that I'm working on that there's like a certain point in college basketball where you peak and then it's just you just completely decline because Nate Reavers and Buzzcut Brad, Brad, we got to work on Brad. Like he needs to do the Mikan drill. You know, he's got to finish a layup.
Dude.
He just can't get it going. And we like this Wisconsin team, and
Brad,
I do think that there's still going to be a problem.
Brad, I still
March,
like you,
so.
man. Like, if you're listening, and Potter, I like Mike. I want to
Micah
like Wisconsin.
Potter,
You just got to give me a reason to like you guys. You get that's why, like on the last show,
when
I said
I first saw the LeBron locker, Micah Potter was sitting right there laughing at how much I was laughing at it.
when we did the last show, I said Wisconsin is a team that's just wake me up when we get to March.
Yeah.
That's how they're playing. That's how they're. That's I mean. I didn't mean that literally. That's what the fans are supposed to be saying, not the players. The players are supposed
Brad,
to
wake up.
Wake up, somebody.
But anyways, Juwan Howard, Michigan basketball, they're on a roll.
Dude, I don't know if you noticed this. Speaking
of
of Juwan Howard being a bad guy, news broke that, and broke, I mean, like some guy who says he's sourced on Twitter, said that Chet Holmgren, one of 7 top number 1 recruits in the country, said he was going to make his commitment decision this week or next week. Like it's imminent. His final 4, I believe, are Gonzaga, Michigan, Ohio State, and Minnesota. He's from Minnesota, so that's the Patrick Ewing BU.
Yes,
Just throw it in there. Like, come on, I'm not actually going.
This
there,
is also Rick Pitino's son who knows the rules, so he's like, all I got to do is get in the top 4. Rick got in the top 3 though. He's like, shit, I got to get in the top 4.
It came full circle. So the report. Again, that's way too strong of a word, but like the inclination was that he was going to make his announcement. Then Ohio State wiped the floor with Indiana. The reason is because Chet Holmgren is a heavy Gonzaga lean. Like the experts say he's going to Gonzaga. But then Ohio State wipes the floor with Indiana, and Michigan on a 23-day pause beats Wisconsin's brains in on their home floor. And now, Tate, the word is Chet Holmgren is not making his decision. And my question to you is Gonzaga out? And is Chet Holmgren basically saying the winner of Michigan-Ohio State on Saturday gets my services? Because that would be if Chet Holmgren. Chet, please. Please.
Can you believe that we're like the kid that you're begging for is named Chet Holmgren? I just love it. I want him to be great. He, like you said, I think he's gonna win the Naismith like high school player of the year, and he's just so confounding and fascinating of a player. I see him going to Gonzaga. That would make a lot of sense. But if he does do this, he should tweet that. He should really
tweet that, or just tweet like which one of these 3. That's been my dream all along. If one of these 3 win the national title, I'm going there.
But if you're a big and you're watching Hunter right now, and you're like a 5-star recruit, I could see why Michigan.
Cut this part.
Like Walker Kessler,
dude.
Look, I'm gonna throw it to myself first. Walker Kessler, who's at Carolina, a freshman who almost went to Michigan. He's looking at Hunter and like,
dude, why are you recruiting for Juwan Howard? What are you doing? He doesn't need your help.
When you're going to join Brad Stevens, I'm going to join Juwan Howard, and there we go.
Quickly, my bad guy of the week is my father, and here's why. So we were doing the show last Thursday, and my dad called me during the middle of the show, and I keep my phone on the table here. I don't even know why, just because I look like I don't know Adam Schefter or something. Like I get breaking news. So my phone starts buzzing, and I have to decline the call because we're doing the show live. So I call my dad after the show, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm doing a show on Thursday night. You understand that's how it works, right?" He's like, "Yeah, I know, but I'm watching Belmont, and I gotta say, like, it's ridiculous you and Tate don't talk about Belmont." And I wanted to call anyway and just make my thoughts known. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're playing Eastern Kentucky right now. I'm watching Belmont. They are now 20. They're 20-1 on the season.
Belmont, really good program.
Yeah." They beat Eastern Kentucky, who is 16-5 and very good. They beat them 92-74 on Thursday when my dad called. Then they followed it up. They beat Morehead State 73-58 on Saturday. Morehead is in second place in the Ohio Valley. They are 16-0 in the Ohio Valley Conference. They have not beat a team like that. I don't know what what do we call them, quad ones and quad twos, and I would guess that Belmont has zero. I'm certain they have 0 quad 1 wins. I don't even know if they have a quad 2 win. So they're a little.
The thing about
artificially
quad 2
inflated.
wins is that they fluctuate.
They're 22 and 1. That's right. Yeah, they were 21 going into this game with Eastern Kentucky. So yeah, I wanted to shout out because I was trying to figure out. I was like, why my dad is he a Belmont bad guy now? I don't.
Is he a mid-major guy?
Is he a mid-major guy?
That's the real question. I kind of like that.
So that's. I just want to shout, Dad. Your request is granted. Belmont, the Belmont Bruins exist. Casey Alexander is a heck of a coach. Is that what we're supposed to say as media people when we don't know anything else about him?
Oh,
we're just
man.
like, heck of a job.
Yep.
Heck of a job he's doing down there in Nashville. No, I know. Casey Alexander played at Belmont, and then he played for Rick Byrd, and he's an assistant forever. I know who he is, but also it's just more fun to just say, heck of a job. Great guy.
The best basketball team in Nashville by a long shot. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And if you're a Vanderbilt fan right now, you know what I'm talking about.
Moving along, we got to do a Tony Guy update. So we just watched Virginia get destroyed by Florida State. Virginia's.
What happened? What happened before that?
What happened the game before that, though, is they beat North Carolina for the 7th time in a row. And I guess that's more relevant to me because there is a discussion to be had about how good Virginia is. I felt like Virginia was on the cusp of maybe potentially having a path to a 1 seed before Florida State killed them. Now that dream is obviously dead. Their best win is like Clemson, who's on the bubble. So like I don't think Virginia is. They're pretty clear they're not going to get a 1 seed. So let's not have that discussion. Let's instead talk about how they beat North Carolina 7 times in a row. Which our statistician of the program, our buddy Brian Ives, I reached out to him. I said, I personally never remember a time when North Carolina lost 7 times in a row to the same.
Hopefully, as
opponent.
a good North Carolina guy, he said never has happened.
That's not what he said.
Oh,
'cause
no.
He's committed to his craft.
Oh, no.
He texted me back. He said it's happened twice since 1953, which I believe is when the ACC was formed and whatever.
Yes, very true.
NC State in the early 70s won 9 straight against the Tar Heels. Duke in the 60s won 7 straight. And those are the only 2 other times that this has happened that North Carolina has lost to a team 7 times in a row. So Tate Frazier, your thoughts?
First, I'm just trying to think about who was coaching at NC State. I guess it was Everett Case at the time, and Everett Case is like one of the founding, fathers of basketball. So not upset with the NC State losses there. I'm pretty sure Vic Bubas, who was Case's assistant,
what a name,
who was the one who was coaching at Duke. So I'm okay with that. And Tony Bennett, I told you this off the air, but going into this Saturday, it's February 13th. It's Coach K's birthday. And I'm thinking to myself, it's going to go one of 2 ways today. It's going to go good or it's going to go evil. It's going to be either Coach K loses on his birthday at NC State and North Carolina, pulls off the rightful upset of Virginia, or, of course, it goes the other way. And before the game, Titus, my parents, they're in North Carolina. My brother, same thing. They got an ice storm going on. They can't really watch the game. We're going in and out. But they know. They're like, we're going to lose this game. We're going to lose to Virginia because North Carolina, they go down to Clemson. They get blown out, by this pack line defense that Clemson runs, which is basically the B version of Tony Bennett's defense. Long story short, I say before tip-off, there's no way you can lose 7 games straight. There's just no way. There's literally no way. So I go from this whole build-up of like, I know we're going to lose. I know that Virginia's a better team this year. It's on the road at Virginia. There's no way they're going to win this game. No way they're going to lose 7 in a row to this team. So I tricked myself. I go into this game and I just watch the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And it reminded me of being a kid when I would watch Joseph Forte and a Brendan Haywood and, even a Jason Capel go and play against this Duke team that, at certain times would have, players that did not look like they were at the same caliber talent-wise or skill-wise as the Carolina players. But doggone it, they would just play they would just play hard defense and shut these guys down and frustrate the hell out of you, And that is what Virginia does. You got guys like Jay Huff, who, like, if I saw Jay Huff walking up down the street, no offense to Jay Huff, but I wouldn't, he wouldn't wow me. And then I'm watching him make Armando Bacot and Day'Ron Sharp look like they don't even know how to catch or throw a basketball, and it's all to say, right? Like, I used to hear these stories when I was a kid from like my great uncles and people, and they would talk about how much Dean Smith was hated early on. They were just like, people hated the 4 corners. People thought it was a gimmick. They hated how he would just like suffocate a game. And Tony Bennett is doing the same thing to the ACC. He's Dean Smith. And the messed up part about it is that, like, I'm watching someone do this to the originators, you know? And the worst part about it, and I'll just say this because, I mean, it is hilarious. It's like Virginia fans have always just been kind of over here, right? You know, you don't have to deal with them. It's like State's in your face. They're yelling because they want you to remember Jimmy V. And we're like, we get it, dude. Jimmy V week, it happens. Like, we understand it. You're never going to win again. And Duke in North Carolina, we already know what that is. But Virginia's been up there. They've had the Pete Gillen years. They've had the Dave Leto years. And, you know, they've had some players that'll intrigue you. But they were just over there. No one to worry about. But the fact that they won this championship and they validated the Tony Bennett experience, they are losing it. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you don't have to put people in their place, but these Virginia fans, I don't know what to do. Titus, I told you, I was worried that this was going to happen.
You instigated it. What do you mean? You started the season and you were like, I hate Virginia.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're going to come at you when they beat you 7 times in a row.
Look, Kyle Guy, I mean, I created a segment about you, man. I made this for you. Like, how dare you? How dare you let this... You're supposed to win and be done, right? I thought that they would reach the mountaintop and then it's just like a casual, like, coasting, you know? But instead, no, they're a real powerhouse. They actually are the best team in the ACC. And if you told someone in 2016 even, in 2021, 5 years from now, you have a choice to pick North Carolina, Duke, or Virginia, and that's the program you get to ride, no one would ever have picked Virginia. And the fact that they are the pick right now.
They're the pick right now.
They're the pick.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
That's what's
but also, you won one championship. North Carolina's won not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, in the words of LeBron James.
But Virginia's won one of the last one. How many of the last one have North Carolina won?
Man,
so if we're doing,
I don't think we'll ever beat. I will say this, Virginia fans, I'm not sure Roy Williams will ever beat Tony Bennett. Ever again.
I want someone to put up the graphic in the last in the last 3 years. What are the programs comparison, and then like have that be the cutoff point. Or,
I like Tony Bennett. I like Tony Bennett, and he's making me not like him. And Virginia fans, you're getting into Duke territory, and the arrogance, it's unbelievable. And I respect it now. I respect it as the loser, but also when North Carolina comes back, I'm going to be coming back too.
As an outsider who has love for both programs, I've had great times in Charlottesville multiple times. I've had great times in Chapel Hill multiple times. Great people, a lot of great people on both sides. This is the Spider-Man meme from my experience as an outsider. I love that there's a rivalry here. I hope it continues. I hope Carolina fans hate Virginia fans. Yeah. Because you're the same people. That's what my first trip to Charlottesville. That was my big takeaway. I was like, these are North Carolina fans. It's all this. Your campuses look similar. Your attitude, your elitism is similar. Like we are the best public school.
Until someone else says it, and they look. And then,
it's the same thing. You guys all wear khakis to games.
Yes.
You all wear your button up. Like it's all the same deal. And I love that Tony is now Dean Smith. I love that he's slowing it down and I love it. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. You couldn't write a better script. Yeah. And Tate is not mad. He's actually laughing at it.
No, to be honest with you, in the first half of this game, I was laughing because I was like, I can't believe how I've never. And look, I will defend North Carolina teams when they don't need defending, but this team, I've never seen anything like it. I said to you off the air, I've never seen people come to a school and like get worse. Like their games deteriorate. And it's not Coach Roy Williams' fault. It's not even the players' fault. It's the assistant's fault. Oh man, I'm serious. I've never seen people just throw the ball to the other team. And like kudos to Virginia.
It's not Brad Stevens' fault. Sure, it's like
it's Jay Laranaga's fault.
Unprompted. You're like it's not. I swear it's not there.
Oh
man! Shout out Florida State though, who just destroyed
blew
Virginia.
out. Yeah, that's made it even worse.
Can I? So I've made the comment earlier in the season. I said Gonzaga plays like an NBA team. They're not as talented as an NBA team. That's not what I mean. I just mean when you watch Gonzaga play, it feels like you're sort of watching the Jazz, a worse version, but like they run their stuff like they're an NBA team, right? And I said Baylor is like a really, really good college team. I still stand by that, but Baylor's like a great all-time great college team is how well they're playing now. That's just the vibe I get when I watch them. I'm not saying either team's better or worse. It's just that's the vibe. Florida State, when I watched them, it finally hit me tonight. They strike me as like a team just full of grown men, and I don't mean like adults. I mean, like actual, like fully grown. Like they look like a TBT team. They just like beat the hell out of people, and they're talking junk at all times. And they, like every single one, like Scotty Barnes looks like he's 38 years old to me. Just the way he plays, and I mean that lovingly. I mean that in the way of like, you know, I remember when I was in high school. Our coach had like some of his college buddies come scrimmage us, and they were all fat and washed up, and we were, you know, like in the best shape of our lives, and we're 17 and can run up and down the floor and all that kind of stuff. And these guys just punked the hell, like they were all fat and smashing beers and everything, and they killed us. And the reason they killed us is because they walked in and they're like, we're not gonna let these 17-year-olds, are you out of your mind? And they just came in and they're just like pushing us and just, you know, punking us, for lack of a better term. That's what that's how I feel when I watch Florida State. It's like they're like the super athletic version of that. Instead of drinking beers, with the exception of Raekwon Gray, they're all just like best. Long and athletic. And then they also take that mindset of like, we are 35 years old and you guys are 15. That's like how they go into every game. And I don't care if we win or lose, we are going to kick your ass. And we'll look at the scoreboard at the end and see what happened, but we're going to kick your ass.
I feel like the only team that Virginia would be worried about in their bracket is Florida State. And I think that's, you know, a testament to Florida State and a testament to the fact that this team, you know, they have such depth across the board that you don't really know who's going to be the guy. Like, you know, they have a McDonald's All-American and MJ Walker sitting over here who could be the guy tonight. Scotty Barnes could be the guy tonight. Raekwon Gray could be the guy tonight. Bossa could be the guy tonight. Yeah. You don't know who's going to be, but you look around and you're saying, I don't really want to mess with any of them. Like how many 7-footers do they have over there? And that's been the case since Leonard Hamilton really got on this tilt since like 2010,
but
2011.
There's like some about that program. Like it doesn't look like the crop of people when you watch Florida State, you're like, that is different. That is like very different than everything else in college basketball. Yeah. And it's crazy. And that's why, like, I said to you a couple years ago that it feels like Leonard Hamilton has like a different scouting service he's using. Yes. And like none of these guys are like under the radar, but it's like when Cal and Kay get their printouts of the 5 stars, Leonard Hamilton's 5 stars don't show up on that printout. And he's like, somehow like the caliber of guy he's getting is just so different. And it's not always better. I'm not saying better or worse. It's just like, when I watch these guys playing at Florida State, I can't imagine them being on any other team. Like it's like you were meant to be there, and it's beautiful. I love it. I love that. I know that 3 years from now, I'm not going to know a single player. I can't tell you who's going to be on the roster 3 years from now in Florida State, but I know exactly what their team's going to look like.
Yes. 6'9" and lanky. Yeah. It's like basically John Hammond, who was the guy who drafted Giannis Thonmaker and basically John Henson, basically any guy that had a 7-foot wingspan. He's like, yeah, that's who I want on my team. Yeah. That's Leonard Hamilton, and he's got 5 straight seasons with 20+ more wins. And there is, I don't know, there's something for me where even though I just said Virginia is the team that you would pick if you had to pick one of the top programs in the ACC, this season in particular, if I had to ride a team in March that I'm like, I don't know, I think this team could be the best of the ACC, it's Florida State. Yeah. And I could see them going to the Final Four.
They're definitely the best team. Yeah. I mean, they proved that tonight. This was the game to
and they can win in crunch time. Yeah. Like, they really can. Scotty Barnes is great in crunch time, and he's 6'8".
Well, they said it tonight. I forget what the stat was. They won, like, the last 11 overtime games they played or something like that.
Yeah, so watch out for coaching.
All right, Cal's guy update. Cal's guys, they beat Auburn 82-80. Kentucky improves to 6-13. Congratulations to Kentucky. Also, I saw the NIT is happening this year, so Kentucky. I don't think you're getting in with a 6-13 record, but hope is still alive. I saw some rumblings that the NIT is happening. So, would Kentucky go to the NIT? You think?
There used to be a rule with the NIT that you had to have at least a 500 record, and they got rid of that rule. So there's a chance they could just get invited.
You can't be 6-13.
I think you can still get invited because if you're the NIT, why would I not invite them?
But I don't think it's gonna be necessary because our buddy Matt Jones tweeted. He said, "quote We are going to win the SEC tournament. I am all in," and he put a smiling emoji. And whether it's tongue in cheek or not, I don't care. That's all I needed. I saw him say that, and I was like, I didn't realize it until this moment. That's exactly what I'm cheering for. Is Kentucky to win the SEC tournament and make it into the NCAA tournament as like a 14 seed.
My goal,
15 seed, a 15 seed Kentucky. Kentucky versus Houston in the opening round.
Iowa. Fran McCaffrey's nightmare. You expect it to be like Northern Kentucky? It's just regular Kentucky. He's like, we're playing the Norse, right? They're like,
the 14-3 game is Iowa, Kentucky. So other updates around the SEC, because there's this past Saturday the SEC was absolutely wild. So I figured we could use Cal's guys update to just inform the people. Quick SEC update. All aboard the Must Bus. It's time to get on board. Arkansas,
he's ripping his shirt off again.
Yeah, he's back to ripping his shirt off. Arkansas has we talked about when he came on the show. We talked about how his schedule is garbage, and he's like, yeah, you're kind of great, and we're gonna find out what team we are. We didn't really find out what team Arkansas was. They haven't beaten. They lost by 30 at Bama like a month ago. They have not beat a ranked team all season. Going into this game at Missouri, I was like, I can't figure out. You can make a case that Arkansas deserves to be ranked, and they're a very good team, and they're up there with the
top of the SEC.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can make a case that Arkansas should be on the bubble, and I would listen to either case.
Yes.
So I was watching this
and
game.
And they were on the bubble, really, in reality, until this game.
And they beat Missouri, so there you go. So good. That's a big statement win for the Must Bus. They won in overtime at Missouri. Kentucky beat Auburn. We talked about that. I mentioned that. Shout out to the Wildcats. Bama hung 115 on Tom Crean. That was another thing that happened. Absolutely insane. This Alabama team is wild. Absolutely wild.
Tom Crean is literally playing a different sport than any other coach. It's like they're all playing the game of basketball. Tom Crean is playing the tweeting at Dwayne Wade and at, like when Anthony Edwards does something good, he just tweets Ant-Man, like, blow smoke emoji. That's the game. Like, it's just this PR, like the perception of Georgia
that's what
basketball.
I'm saying.
If you didn't watch Georgia, you would think that they were a pretty solid program.
Coach K needs to take all, like, whatever Jeff Capel left and his assistant coach's locker, the blueprint for the brotherhood, this era of Duke basketball.
Jalen Johnson cleaned it out when he left.
Coach K needs to put it in a duffel bag. He needs to take it to Athens, Georgia, and say, Tom Crean, this is how I built my program. You can have it. And then let Tom Crean take that corner of, like, college basketball. The guy, like, that's the game Tom Crean wants to play.
Yes.
Coach K, it's time to get out. Pass it on to Tom Crean. And that's how the next 7 years should work in college basketball. That's
Tom Crean's goal is just to have a 5-star recruit every single year say, I am going to commit to Georgia.
Remember, he was the coach in Indiana when Christian Watford hit that shot.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when Cody Zeller committed. I also remember Victor Oladipo. No else played for him?
Dwayne Wade.
Dwayne Wade, cool.
LSU beat Tennessee. Kind of handled him from start to finish.
Tennessee is, man, it's like every time that I turn and say, you know what, I'm in, they break my heart. So I'm going to actually remove myself.
Dude, we put out the graphic that we thought Tennessee fans were putting on a brave face. They killed us. Like, we had people there like, I'm not putting, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I
they came out of the woodwork.
Yeah, like, I believe in this team. I was like, all right, sorry, but like, fine, you can believe in this team. I'm just saying, if I was a Tennessee fan, I don't know if I'd believe. Like, obviously they're good. If the question is good or bad, they're good. The question was more like, as we're entering March, if I told you Tennessee is going to score less than 50 points in the first round of the NCAA tournament and lose, what is the probability of that happening? It's greater than 10% for sure. It's
like, definitely.
Like that would scare me if I was a Tennessee fan. And this was, I mean, I don't know. This is a great example. Why? Because LSU does not play any defense, and Tennessee still struggled to score the ball. And I don't know. But they're still a good team. Like, obviously, you could talk yourself into Tennessee. That's what the SEC is for me all year.
Yes.
And Kentucky's on that list, too, of like
Florida. Florida is the most confusing team I've ever watched. Like, any day I could see Florida beating any team.
Yeah.
Yet you watch them play sometimes, and they just completely the bed. So you look
Dude,
you're like,
speaking of Tennessee,
they
killed Tennessee.
Yeah.
Florida destroyed Tennessee. And then,
and then
they won at West Virginia. They won at West Virginia, too, Florida did. The other two games that happened, Ole Miss stays hot. They won at South Carolina. So I want to shout them out because Ole Miss is on fire right now. And then finally, I wanted to call attention to this. Vanderbilt, their first 20-plus point SEC win. So they haven't won a game. They haven't had an SEC blowout win since March of 2017 was the last time that Vanderbilt won an SEC game, beat an SEC team by 20 or more points. They just destroyed Mississippi State on Saturday. So it's all happening. And also Jerry Stackhouse, I don't know if you're following this, is like basically at war with every single media member. I mean, I've briefly mentioned it about he's like blocking everyone on Twitter, but now apparently he's like every press conference he does, he's like just naming names and calling people racist and just like I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to like know who's right and wrong. I'm just grabbing popcorn. I'm just like, oh,
you know
cool.
That old phrase
Something's
like
going on down there.
that we always heard is like everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth.
Yeah,
like that's actually something that Jerry Stackhouse lives by, and he I would not mess with Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah, that's it. Do you want Jerry Stackhouse to be the Roy Williams successor? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely
all right,
not. I have moved on to greener pastures. I don't want to say who I'm looking at, but he wore number 30 at North Carolina.
Brad Stevens.
Brad Stevens.
Oh, Kitty Smith's son.
Give me Sheed. I'm just gonna say it. I just want Rasheed. I'm just gonna put it out there. Rasheed Wallace, come be the Carolina head coach. When I saw Juwan Howard, you know why I say this? When I saw Juwan Howard get teed up, I saw Brad Davidson do the Duke move, the Gerald Henderson elbow. I'm like, what a cheap shot. Like, Brad, I don't even know if I want to have you back on this program. Anyways, that happens. And then I see Juwan Howard just immediately just like lose his mind for his players and get teed up. And I'm like, imagine if that was Rasheed Wallace, man. That would be so good.
That would be
so I'm just saying that. Rasheed Wallace, come to Carolina.
Shout-outs, closeouts. What do you got, Tate?
I got it at, this is a pretty easy one for me. And it's honestly not even a shout-out. It's more of a like closeout, like close the whole chapter in my life and get it out of my face. Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago.
I don't think it's time to close it because I think the NCAA tournament's going to happen.
No. Close out. Close it up. Shut it down. Sister Jean made me watch a barn burner that was, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, 45-45. Drake versus the Sister Jeans, the Fighting Sister Jeans, and it goes to overtime. You know, there was a little bit of, some conversation about a legal screen and all this sort of stuff from the Sister Jean crowd. But regardless, Drake gets the win. But watching that game was atrocious. Did not enjoy it at all. I do like this Drake team. And Loyola looks like a real tournament team. Like, besides the Sister Jean affiliation, don't mind the team so much. But she's rolling in. She's coming.
When you're watching Drake play Loyola, what kind of feel did it have in state tournament? Was it a first round game? Was it
It was a Dayton first four game. It was a first four. It was a first four before noon. Don't watch it. We'll let you know who's
As a
playing
reminder, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers are currently number 10 on KenPom, which is 33 spots ahead of the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Number 22 in the country, by the way. Unbelievable.
Speaking of KenPom, I want to shout out Gonzaga, who has broken briefly. There's a lot of basketball left to be played. You know, I like reminding people of that. But Gonzaga, as of right now, has the highest KenPom rating of all time. So those of you stat nerds that are into that sort of thing, Gonzaga is shattering records in that regard.
Did you see the Big Ten stat of the day? They have 9 of the Big Ten. 9 Big Ten teams have the top 10 KenPom schedules. What is this? Like, it wouldn't even be as ridiculous. Like, if you told me to make up what the stats are, I couldn't come up with them. So thank you.
What else? I want to shout out Creighton, who kind of fits the Tennessee mold for us. Where we're like, they're definitely a good team. Yeah, obviously a good team.
Yep.
But also, like, you got to give us a reason to believe in you. And they did that. They beat Villanova. They smoked Villanova. I guess the shout out is less for Creighton. Zagorowski had 25 points. He was great. Like, Creighton wins. Yada yada yada. I just want to shout out Mitch Ballock because there's been some chatter as Justin Orange is a flamethrower. I obviously pointed out the season Corey Kispert's having. He's one of the great shooters in the country. John Petty, you would throw on that list. I think they were having this discussion during the Ohio State Indiana game. I just want to make it known as a shooter myself, as an authority on these matters, that Mitch Ballock is the best shooter in college basketball. And it's not particularly close in my mind. Because I like Kispert's percentages are insane, and respect to that. But Mitch Ballock is like he's trying to miss. Like, you watch him shoot, he's like purposely trying to miss shots, I think, and they go in. And he's like, I don't know what's happening. I wanted to miss that one, and it went in. I don't get it.
There's a difference between a scorer and a shooter. Yeah. I think
Kispert's
a good shooter, but he's a scorer.
Yeah. And Kispert sets his feet, and it's like boring. Well, that's not what we want. We want Mitch Ballock throwing it from his hip. Mitch Ballock, every time he shoots, it feels like he thinks there's a shot clock violation. there's like 9 seconds on the shot clock, and he's like, I gotta get this up, and it goes in. It's unbelievable. So shout out to that guy. What else? What else do we have?
I want to shout out Mike DeCourcy. He just did his latest bracket, and it's a very.
Is North Carolina in? Is that what you're shouting out?
It was a very us Maui Invitational centric last four in. We got North Carolina in there. We got Indiana in there. We got Stanford in there.
Ooh.
And then we got St. Bonaventure's, but they weren't in Maui. But we'll still throw them in. So the last four, Mike DeCourcy, those 4 teams are fun to watch. Richmond right there on the bubble. I would love to see them get in, but
Richmond's
shout
had
out to
a disappointing
DeCourcy.
season.
I know. I thought they'd have a better year.
I thought we'd be talking about them more on the show.
Me too.
I want to do some rapid fire, I guess. Shout out to the UConn Huskies, beat Xavier at Xavier's. UConn's kind of on the bubble, so that was a big win.
I'm all in on UConn.
They got Villanova this weekend. that is
Looks like a good team to draw right now, right?
We need Bouknight back, dude.
Yeah, he's got to come imminent.
They're all. I know. It's like they're fuzzy
Stop
with
teasing,
the details.
yeah.
Stop teasing it. Bring it back. Is that what they're gonna do? Have they been teasing it so he can come back for Villanova?
Bouknight's trying to pull like a Mariano Rivera. He's like, I'm just coming in to close. He's like, you know why I'm here.
Just give me the tournament, bitch, and I'll take care of the rest. I want to shout out Idaho, who I called out as a fraud last week for being 0-16. They continued. They strengthened their fraud resume by being up by 3 against Idaho State. Tate, rivalry game.
Love it.
They give up a buzzer beater at the end of regulation. Idaho State hits a 3 to send it to OT. Beats Idaho in OT. Idaho drops to 0-17. So good on you for giving me content for Friday's show. That Idaho is moving their way up the fraud power rankings. 0-17. It makes no sense. Some of the other like teams that never win make a lot of sense. Like the SWAC teams make sense. Chicago State makes sense because you look at like the resources they have and all that kind of. You're like, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if they won a game, but it sort of makes sense. Idaho doesn't make any sense. I'm sure someone's gonna write in and be like, no, you don't get it, man. Like we had all these scholarship players opted out or something probably. I don't care. You got to win one game. Win one game. Here's my challenge. Let's Zach Claus, who's the head coach at Idaho. How about the win one game challenge? How about you do that?
I think if you work on like the production side there, you cut together all the coaches in the country that say 1-0, and then you and then you just like put a compilation. So every time you walk in the locker room, you just hear like a million different coaches say 1-0.
I'm excited for them to win one game, and then you give me your how undefeated are they? You're like Idaho's looking really good.
Look, watch out for Idaho.
And then the last one I had rapid fire here was Holy Cross and BU. They famously scheduled each other to play like 25 times this year, and I wanted to give an update on how this is going. What did they actually schedule? I think it was like 8 or 9 games. They were going to play each other this year. They have played 4 times. It is a 2-2 season series split. BU won on Sunday. They beat Holy Cross, so they still have 2 games left. They play this coming Wednesday and next Wednesday. So I don't know what happens if they tie. If it's a 3-3 split, we go to Game 7. I thought they had more games on the schedule, but anyway. I know that was talked about a lot.
This is the first 7-game series that we had
that we've ever seen in college
basketball.
Yeah. So that's where we're at.
So
with
take that, NBA fans.
They were also these are the 2 schools that played with masks on. So that got some buzz too. So
this is also one of the schools Bob Cousy went to. So there's like
Patrick Ewing I heard almost went to the other one. So.
Yeah, the top 3.
Is there anything else?
Finally, Fred Hoiberg. You mentioned Brad Stevens coming from the NBA ranks back to college basketball and coming to this beautiful world that everyone recognizes him and loves him. First Big Ten win since January of 2020 for Nebraska and Fred Hoiberg. So shout out to him. Took a year. You got the big one. He might actually be the biggest loser. I was joking earlier about the other teams, but man.
As a reminder, for everyone who says that all these coaches want to be in the NBA, they don't want to coach college. The NBA is the highest level of basketball. That's where every coach wants to be. I would point to Fred Hoiberg. I would say false. He can't win in college now. NBA, it was easier for him to win in the NBA. Also, as a reminder, the only team that ever beat the Dream Team was the team of college all-stars, Chris Webber and Bobby Hurley.
Grant Hill.
Yep. So, checkmate. That's the show. Any final words? That's it. Jim Christian.
It's good to be here. We're so close to March. Like I feel it. We're on the precipice of everything that we love in the world, March Madness. So just hang on. Just come for the ride.
Just hang on. We'll be back Friday. See you guys then.